Hello, virtuous thought leaders, scholars, and virtue change agents. My name is Dr. Lisa Marie Portugal, and I am the Leadership Architect. I'd like to welcome you today to another talk that I have prepared for you and in service to you and your goals. This talk is called Foundational Factors Necessary when Implementing a Major Transformational Shift. And it comes out of one of my many books called A Culture of Excellence, Virtuous Leadership Principles for Organizational Success, a Management System. And the cover slide is also the cover of the book, The Four Cardinal Virtues: Prudence, Justice, Fortitude, and Temperance. We cannot achieve greatness or magnanimity unless and until we master the virtues within ourselves. Reaching greatness or magnanimity is about virtue building within ourselves, our families, communities, and others. We cannot achieve magnanimity until fortitude, self-control, counsel, justice, prudence, understanding, respect for others, temperance, humility, charity, piety, and courage are present first within us. We cannot give to others what we do not possess ourselves. So understanding how to master ourselves and build virtue is the first, ongoing, and last step required for magnanimity. And mastering the virtues is a lifelong and ongoing process throughout our entire lives. When we fall, pick yourself up and start the practice of virtue building again. And do this throughout your life. Magnanimity is an ongoing process and a focus we should have throughout our lives. It is also a focus we should have for working with, mentoring, and coaching others to greatness. We can build virtue within ourselves and help others in our sphere of influence to achieve greatness in their own lives by teaching the virtues and living the virtues in everything we do. I'd like to invite you today and every day to live virtuously. Okay, the table of contents about Dr. Portugal page, foundational factors when implementing major transformational shift, broad-based leadership competencies needed for a transformation, learning organization principles, systems thinking, thinking strategically, competent strategic thinkers, practice the following concepts, and then conclusion, confront difficulties, challenges, and attacks. Here is my About Dr. Portugal page. I did add to this slide that I did not have in previous slides. The 42 credits here completed in a Doctor of Management, a DM in Executive Leadership, because a lot of the leadership best practices that I talk about in this particular book does come out of that Doctor of Management in Executive Leadership program I was in. Also, leadership best practices come out of all of my programs because for some reason I've had a strong interest in leadership all my life, and I've taken a lot of leadership classes at the master's and doctoral and PhD level, so I thought, why not share it with you? You don't have to write all the papers or do the discussions. You can just get the information that I have filtered down and scaffolded for you. And if you are in education or you're aware of education principles, there's something called scaffolding where we chunk pieces of information for students. So instead of me doing like an hour-long lecture with a lot of concepts, I just chunk it down for you, and hopefully I do that in somewhat of an entertaining way for you with some visuals, and then you can have time to reflect on it and think about how you might apply some of these concepts in your own leadership brand and style. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's talk about foundational factors when implementing a major transformational shift. This discussion identifies various foundational factors that leaders need to address when implementing a major transformational shift. A broad list of important factors are listed, and 3 specific variables are examined in more detail. The three specific variables discussed with greater clarity include having a learning approach, thinking strategically, and building relationships. It involves the nurturing and growth of others and community, while recognizing that individuals have intrinsic value that surpasses their immediate job function in the workplace. Having the ability to persuade rather than control is the mark of a compelling leader. I want to work for someone like that, don't you? I want someone to recognize that I have intrinsic value, and I want to convey that to others as well. You have intrinsic value. You are an asset to any community or organization that you work for. So I love this graphic here. What does it mean to take up your cross and follow Jesus? Well, you as a manager or a leader in your community or in any environment that you are in where you engage with others, we want to lead with our leader's philosophy, Jesus Christ, pick up our cross and communicate our values and virtues, our philosophy to the world everywhere we are. So I love that image. I think it kind of solidifies who we are as Christians. Okay, so let's get into it. Broad-based leadership competencies needed for a transformation. The following factors are essential when leading and managing others through transformation. Now, as I go through these bullet points, think about some examples that you could discuss whenever you're interviewing with others, or if you want to move into another leadership position or management position, you want to grow yourself, right? So think of specific examples that are unique to you and your talents that you can have ready when you're talking to others or when you're interviewing for any of these bullet points. Because for each of us, our creativity is going to be different. How I have a learning and approach may be different from how you have a learning approach, right? Okay, so adaptability, personal drive. I'm sure you can see my personal drive if you've been following along with some of my talks. Credibility and trustworthiness. I forgot to add that, but I want to work with people who are credible and trustworthy, and I want them to view me in that light as well. Customer or shareholder focus. How are you going to let the organization know that you're going to take care of their customers and their shareholders? Building relationships, creating transparent communication, fostering teamwork, building a talent infrastructure, driving change, inspiring purpose with alignment. You know, everywhere we work, each organization, they have their agenda, their goals, and their objectives. You need to come into alignment with that, and in addition, inspire purpose in the people you are working with. How are you going to do that? How is that unique to you? Have examples. Planning and organizing, managing execution, technical and financial savvy, and strategic thinking or thinking strategically. Okay, my next slide. Let's now talk about learning organization principles and systems thinking. 3 specific variables, such as having a learning approach, thinking strategically, and building relationships, are examined more closely for the purposes of this discussion. So this particular graphic, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's see, develop personal mastery. Well, you're already doing that if you're listening to me. You're developing your personal mastery. 2, how do you build complex, challenging mental models? I hope that I'm doing that for you in each one of my talks. I'm building complex, challenging mental models for you. I'm giving you graphics. I'm chunking it down, as I've mentioned before, scaffolding the information for you. Number 3, promote team learning. Number 4, build shared vision. I hope that I'm doing that for you as well. I'm explaining to you my virtuous leadership model, and I'm breaking down specific tactics and best practices in leadership, and I'm building a shared vision for you, and I hope that you will participate in my shared vision. And then number 5, encourage systems thinking. All right, now let's talk about thinking strategically. A critical leadership skill involves acting and thinking strategically. Technical competencies, in addition to having the ability to strategically think and plan ahead, are essential attributes of leadership that can earn a leader respect from others. Moreover, merely putting out fires is not enough. Leaders must have the skills of looking ahead, foreseeing unexpected challenges and external attacks, and setting a future agenda for success. Strategic thinkers reassure or reassess the environment continuously. Let me repeat that. Strategic thinkers reassess the environment continuously. At a department level, leaders have the ability to analyze a department's internal positions and challenges. At a corporate level, leaders evaluate an organization's industry trends, competition, customers, shareholders, strategy, and internal and external attacks. Furthermore, competent leaders have the ability to assess and gather wide-ranging information to calculate needed changes to accomplish future desired results. Competent strategic thinkers. The act of strategic thinking is an ongoing process with specific and focused intent. Competent strategic thinkers have the ability to execute trade-offs while considering possible disadvantages and advantages, in addition to long-term and short-term ramifications of a course of action or idea. Prioritize actionable steps to remain focused on primary objectives while dealing with competing priorities and multiple demands. Analyze information while prioritizing the most crucial data. Open themselves to new information, challenge assumptions, visualize new possibilities, and think creatively by generating alternatives. Those last two are very important to me. I like to visualize new possibilities for myself, both personally and professionally. I hope that I'm giving you a visualization of new possibilities for yourself, new ways that you can grow, and then also think creatively by generating alternatives. Have other alternatives. So instead of just having one pathway, think of various pathways to get you where you want to go in case one thing doesn't work out, right? And then don't be married to that one thing and be very disappointed if it doesn't work out. Have different ways to get to where you need to go. That's important to me. I always like doing that as well. Okay, I don't like closing myself off to one pathway in case, it doesn't work out. You want to have different alternatives, right? Okay, so identify trends, patterns, and relationships with the ability to notice patterns throughout unrelated situations. That's an important statement there. If you've ever taken an IQ test, one of the significant factors to a high IQ is that you can recognize patterns. Pattern recognition is a high IQ. Categorize related data to minimize the amount of problems that must be resolved. Okay, now let's move on to practice the following concepts. Leaders who want to gain competencies in these areas can develop strategic thinking ability by practicing the following concepts. Self-expansion. I love that one. Unceasingly working toward broadening one's experience and knowledge to aid in observing patterns and connections throughout unrelated fields of knowledge. So you're doing that now by listening to me. You want to look in a lot of different fields of knowledge. You want to be well versed in what's going on in the world. And there was something else that I had in another portion of my talk that is very important. Let me see if I can find that. Well, it'll probably come to me later. Gathering information from a lot of different areas and sources. That's what I meant to say. So you want to look into different fields of knowledge and gather information broadly and widely, right? So I'm sure we all know people who just they're in their bubble and they're only going to listen to one voice and they go to one spot for all their information. Well, you can help people grow beyond that, beyond their comfort level, and help them broaden their perspective of information gathering, right? Okay, the next one, openness. Being responsive to new ideas from others involving external collaborators such as suppliers, business partners, customers, and shareholders. Positive yet realistic perspective. So we want to be positive, but we also have to be realistic. Viewing opportunities and challenges and having faith that successful outcomes are possible. Alertness, having the ability to remain open to possible opportunities that could prove to be beneficial in the future, as well as foreseeing attacks or threats that may be impending. So that's always important to me, that last part. I like to be able to strategize my thinking, look ahead, see what pitfalls could happen so that I can mitigate or avoid some of those problems. Be future focused. I love this as also having the ability to think about the organization's operational circumstances that may be altered. So you as an organizational asset, how are you future focused? What can you bring to the organization that makes you different, and has them kind of raise an eyebrow and say, that person has some interesting ideas that could move our agenda forward, or develop stronger brand benevolence for us, right? Okay, the next one, flexibility. Trying new and innovative ideas and approaches when additional information conjectures the need to do so. Curiosity, having the ability to be authentically attentive to what is occurring in the wider environment, industry, department, and organization. I love that phrase and concept. Be authentically attentive. Okay, in conclusion, let's talk about confront difficulties, challenges, and attacks. Strategic thinkers have the ability to confront difficulties, challenges, and attacks with creativity, efficiency, immediacy, and right actions. All of those words are very important, right? So instead of freaking out or getting extra stressful about something that is going to be difficult to handle, how are you going to bring out your creativity? How efficient are you going to be? How immediate are you going to be? And then, of course, as a Christian, what right actions are we going to carry out? What decisions are we going to make? Furthermore, strategic thinkers are not threatened or driven by logical fallacies and emotions when confronted with problems, attackers, or difficulties. Look up logical fallacies. That's very important for you to do deeper research on that. And then emotions. As I said, we have to manage our emotions. That's a very important thing. We don't want to be that leaf in the wind that whichever way the wind blows, our emotions will carry us off. We have to think logically and rationally. Finally, strategic thinkers have the ability to recognize logical fallacies, gaslighting, and emotional schemes. Look up all of those concepts there. And having the ability to know what those things are and to be able to see them in the environment. If someone is trying to use those on you, you should be able to recognize that quickly. Strategic thinkers or strategic thinking leaders have the ability to keep teams focused on what could be. Another statement that I love. So instead of miring ourselves on what it is, and that we don't like what it is, what can it be? I'm a big picture visionary person. I like to look at what could be and how can we get there. So leaders with this competency are continually analyzing and absorbing information while aiding teams to make higher quality decisions. Individuals with this strength have the competency to repeatedly stretch a team's thinking for the future while avoiding logical fallacy entanglements, wrong political perspectives, relativism, and wrong philosophical or ideological reasoning contrary to traditional Western Christian values, virtues, morality, and ethics. That's kind of a mouthful there at the end, but you might want to take a look at that part a little bit slower, because all of that is very important, and I would even do personal research on that. What is relativism and how is it used today in our society? It's rampant in our society, right? Logical fallacy entanglements are rampant right now. So anything that goes against or contrary to what our Western Christian values and virtues are, what we believe morality and ethics are and should be, we want to be very careful with that, right? And make decisions make right actions and right choices and right decisions. And that's what is part of carrying our cross, right? As Christians who are operating within this nation, within this culture and society, we want to look at what can be and how can we get there. Okay, that's it for the talk. The last slide are the references. I want to thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to create this talk for you. It was my pleasure and my honor to serve you today. God bless you.